Adjustments. The board was created by the city charter to hear applications for variances from the zoning ordinance requirements and to hear and render decisions on interpretations of the requirements of the zoning ordinance. The board consists of 5 voting members. It requires 4 affirmative votes for approval of any variance or interpretation. All cases on the agenda will be heard in the order listed. The order of proceeding for each case shall be as follows. The applicant shall present his case. Persons in favor of the variance shall present their evidence. Persons opposed to the variance shall present their evidence. The applicant shall be given a rebuttal period. The public hearing will be closed and no further testimony will be accepted. The normal procedure is that the board will discuss and take action on the application. All meetings of the boards of adjustments are open to the public. Anyone in the audience who thinks that for any reason they will speak before the board tonight, please stand and take the oath. Okay. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth in all matters pertaining to the cases before the Board of Adjustments? Please say I do. Okay, thank you. Please be seated. All right, let's get on with the roll call here. Gene Ogle.
Here.
Jack Laban. He is not here. Okay. Robert Jones.
Here.
John Davies.
Here.
Dennis Hart.
Here.
And I'm Tim Watkins, and I'm here too, I think. So, okay, we've got that out of the way. Okay. We'll start with the continued case. Case number 19-999-26, Craig DeLong, a variance request to the accessory building standards for the property at 2977 South Iva Drive. Are we continuing this case, or are we going to?
We're going forward with it tonight.
We're going forward with it tonight. Okay, that's fine. Have we got your slideshow ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a quick review. As I told you 2 months ago, as constructed, the Mel carport sits too close to the applicant's house and is within inches of the public right-of-way and sidewalk. So in short, a variance is required for the carport to be within 10 feet of the house and another to allow it to sit closer to the street than the house. You had asked us to get together with the applicant and work on a solution. And while we were doing that, we were informed and made aware by Public Works that there is no solution for the rear yard area. The entire, in fact, half of the house as well, but the entire backyard is within the stream buffer ordinance area. So basically everyone along this street, as well as the next one to the east, cannot build any accessory buildings in any of their backyards. So it would increase the permeable surface or impermeable surface area within the protected stream buffer zone. So the only place acceptable to Public Works is if he were allowed to keep this carport is where it is right now. So in light of this new facts, we looked at the hardship 6 criteria again, and this time staff from our analysis, we believe he meets 5 of those 6 requirements now. The only one we still show as negative is that the carport would alter the essential character of the neighborhood. So again, so to refamiliarize you with the neighborhood, you can see where the carport is here on the existing paved surface. And this shows how close it is to the house, obviously. And you can see where it is in relation to the sidewalk. Looking east down, what is this, 30th? 20th? 30th. And then the front of the house here, looking from the corner of 30th and Iva. And then looking north up Iva and south down Iva. And another view of the applicant's carport. We had, since the last meeting, at least one additional individual call and talk to me that lives in the neighborhood that was not in favor of this.
Okay. So, did you say one additional?
Yeah, that I hadn't heard from earlier. He was not properly notified, so we notified him again. So prior to this meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, was he upset about the request for the variance or the fact he wasn't notified? Or both?
Well, I mean, for both, but but once that was rectified and he knew there was an additional meeting he could come to, although he apparently didn't come tonight. He was most concerned about the what it looked like.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you have any others that have called in or talked to you all as far as neighbors?
I'm trying to think back. That was 2 months ago. I think I had at least 2 others callers previously to that.
What you're saying is you've slept once or twice since then?
How long has this been up? The carport?
The applicant may be able to speak to that
Right,
a little
thank
bit
you.
better than I can. I think it's been probably about 6 months, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Well, can we hear from the applicant? Come to the podium, please. Make sure your microphone's adjusted so we can hear you. Introduce yourself again. It's been a while.
My name is Craig Ron,
Yeah.
live at 2977.
Raise the, there you go. Thank you.
2977 South Iowa Drive.
Okay. Has it been 6 months that thing's been up,
I believe it's been
or
since
approximately?
October, and since it's been up.
Okay. Okay. Well, we know that you've tried to work with staff on a solution. And then, of course, ran into another snag, apparently.
Did you just build the carport on your own, or is it commercially constructed?
I had it done for me, a place on 24 Highway that sells them. They had it put up for me.
We had suggested that he talk with the person that put it in, since it wasn't okay to have it there, about possibly getting his money back. Because they should have known that if they build those, it's not allowed in the city, the way it is.
Is there, I want to ask you, is there any other carports in this particular development? I mean-
There is one down the street, on the next block over, down a few homes down. I don't have the address, but there is one in the backyard.
But is it the same subdivision as yours? Because I'm not sure. I know this, some of this is Bryn Mawr, I think, is the development out there, or one of them. but I didn't know, do they have covenants and restrictions? That's one of the things I just wondered. I'm not trying to,
I don't know of any restrictions.
okay.
Do you have a homeowners in your,
No.
So we're saying there's no way to move it because of the, within
Stream
that-
buffer.
Stream buffer, is that what you're saying, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, well, the stream buffer basically is the entire backyard and actually includes the area where this is.
Okay.
But this is but there's already existing grandfathered paved surface. So in the eyes of Public Works, it's irrelevant to them whether it's there or not.
Looks to me like they've said yes.
So that, this is the only solution in their opinion. Right?
Right, and unless you were to allow it to be over farther to the left or something, but that would still require the same variance. I mean,
Right.
if you put it over the garage part rather than here, it wouldn't make any difference. The same situation.
Aren't all these?
Anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
This is not an easy application, I can tell you that. I say this is not an easy, for us here on this board. Is the city say they're saying
Yeah.
they don't have a problem with it? I mean, the city staff? Or are they saying that, what? I mean, I'm.
Well,
Criteria number 6 is.
yeah, the revisions,
sticking
the
point.
revisions show
Yeah.
one
The
item.
one variance there at the number 6, yeah,
Yeah.
That's the only one.
yeah.
I don't see a problem with it.
This is not easy, I can tell you.
Well, let's discuss.
Well, at this point, do we have any other questions for the applicant?
Not really.
No? Okay.
Nope.
You go ahead and be seated then. At this point in time, do we have anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this variance request? No. Okay. Well, then I guess we can close the public hearing and we can have a discussion on this. Obviously, not anybody's overly concerned about it as far as neighbors because they didn't show up. You know, although Brian did get some calls, he said. Now, on this latest one, and I'm sure that this was sent out, notifications have been made every month, correct?
Well, no, we
I
don't
mean,
make, we
since
don't,
it's-
we make, the applicant makes one notification and there aren't subsequent notifications
Okay.
after mail, after.
But the gentleman
With
that called
continuance.
you last time was aware that the meeting was tonight.
Right, I gave him
mean, it
the
wasn't-
time. He was the only one that was missed, and it's around the corner and behind, and as the crow flies, the corner of his lot was close enough, he should have been notified.
Okay.
And you've had 2 or 3 others besides this particular person you're thinking? Is that what you're saying before?
Just 2 others,
Oh, so there's a total of 3.
and that was well over a month ago.
Okay.
I mean, 2 months ago.
Okay.
Well, you know, the staff has said 1 through 5 is all yes.
Mr. Davies?
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. The staff has said that 1 through 5 is all yes, and the only thing it will not, as carports aren't common in this neighborhood, I don't see it a problem with us approving this, really.
Anybody else have thoughts or opinions on this that we need to discuss, or?
I don't like to be, I'm not trying to be negative here, but these kind of, they're just not attractive. That's just me in a neighborhood, these type of carports. They don't look good. But I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying, what happens if we approve this and then another person sees it, and that's just me. I'm not mad at anybody. I'll be honest with you, I just think I shouldn't say this, but I just think they're unattractive. They don't blend in with the rest of the homes around that area. Now, I haven't gone out and inspected all the homes, but if I had a home out there and somebody put in a carport like that, and then we had some more put them in and more, what do you do? What do you create? That's my concern.
Anybody else? Dennis, Gene?
I spent some time in the neighborhood walking around that. I did not see another carport on the street side.
I can't really vote for it. I can't move it.
Anything else from anybody?
Testimony.
Well, in the site plat, here on the area map, is that stream thing, is that just in back of his house? That's the only place it's at, just runs down that, in the middle of those two streets. Let me see here.
That's the stream buffer.
Yeah, Iva and,
I don't have the stream buffer shown on here. I should have provided you with that map, but the stream buffer area includes the entire rear yard and about half of
I would assume so, wouldn't you?
the house.
half the house, but that, I can see that on this map, this colored map that you've got in the packet. And it looks like probably the houses that front onto, like a Sweetbriar. Is that it?
I'm not sure what map you're looking at. Yeah, the-
Area map in the packet.
It's in the packet, you got your finger on it. Oh. Yeah,
Yeah, this one doesn't have the stream buffer on it.
well, yeah, it does. You're going right down behind the house. It goes right down behind the house, I can see it.
That's a stream, but
Yeah, there's the image of the stream, but there's
Right, right, but
not the
obviously-
actual buffer is not.
Yeah, but the buffer isn't anywhere else but just down there behind his house and behind the houses that front onto Sweetbriar.
Well, the buffer comes
The
out
buffer
further than
runs
the
through the middle of the high
Have to do with
peak
elevation.
of his house, roughly.
Well, yeah, that's okay. But that's just where this buffer is, right down the back of his house and.
Yeah.
And in the middle of his house, maybe.
All of his backyard, yes.
All of his backyard.
And that's
all-
true.
Everybody else's backyard.
Everybody else's backyard up the street, and then the ones on the other side of the creek too.
Right,
on-
right,
on,
yeah, that's what
um,
I was pointing at, but that's the
on
only
Brimar.
place it is in this
So
neighborhood,
actually, this
right?
is the buffer in here.
I beg your pardon?
That's the only place this buffer is. right
Well,
down there.
it follows that entire stream.
Well, yes, right.
From
but that's
the
where that stream
northwest
is,
to the
just-
southeast, yeah.
Just behind his house and on his side of his street, and, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The adjoining homes.
And, well, it's in the adjoining homes, that's the only place in this whole block that's where it is. Not block, but on this map, it's just follows the stream. It's not over on Elmira or up there on Artie Mize, it's just
Correct.
right down there.
No.
Okay. Well, I just don't see a problem in making an exception for that, since it would overcome that, the stream barrier. I mean, essentially can't do anything in the backyard, period.
Right, and very limited on that.
The city has spent a lot of money on that stream from Artie Mize clear up by Trenchard. They've done a lot of work back in there,
Yeah,
a lot.
which is good, but
Anybody else? Well,
No.
no, go ahead, Gene.
Well, the next process, I think, is to make a motion to approve the variance. Don't think there's any questions.
yeah, it has to be done in the positive. Has to be done in the. Well, let's do that then.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve case number 199-99-26, the two variances as requested.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. All right. Okay, Gene Ogle,
I vote yes.
Robert Jones,
No.
John Davies,
Yes.
Dennis Hart,
No.
Tim Watkins. I guess it doesn't matter what I say at this point in time. Failed, but yes, I vote yes. Okay, motion, or the variance fails on that one.
I did the math right. How many votes are there?
Takes 4 affirmative.
Yep.
All right. Okay,
Okay.
next case. Let's see, case number 20-999-02, Church of the Four Corners, variances to pole sign standards for the address of 14300 East US 40 Highway.
Yes, this is an application by the church and also Royal Signs and Graphics to allow the church to modify the signage that you see on the screen right now. If you recall, that was a Best Buy there for many, many years. In fact, the top part of the sign is actually their Pricer. Pretty familiar if you're familiar with Best Buy. 2 variances are required for the church to update this pole sign. First is the city no longer allows pole signs south of I-70, and it restricts them to use the existing poles and the cabinets for their signage, which is what the church has done before. They can't be enlarged or modified, and they seek to modify this by the drawing that's been provided by Royal Signs. And then the maximum sign area is also larger than the 100 square feet maximum. The signage that's out there now is about 370 square feet, and then they wish to modify it, making it slightly smaller at 297 square feet. So just some quick pictures. Here we're looking to the west. We're in the parking lot of the church, looking to the west at the signage. And there's the Pricer board on the top, and then they have the smaller sign underneath that adds the church's name. They also seek to add another panel sign below the church sign itself that will be available to, the church is going to expand its operation somewhat and have a coffee shop and some other things, and that's what they want the additional panel sign for. So this is the sign that's out there. It's relatively tall. I think it's like 50 feet tall. They may be wishing to, I think they want to lower the sign a little bit, 10 feet or so, but that's not part of the variance issue. Okay, here's the other side of the sign. We're in the Hy-Vee parking lot, or the Planet Fitness parking lot, looking east. As you can see, the sign has not been, it's not handling the weather very well, and it's starting to come apart. That's one of the reasons why they wish to replace the sign panel, the Pricer board with a different sign, and also add something else below the church sign. This is the front of the church. They've been there several years now. I went there during the week, so it wasn't really busy. This is the property to the east, which is a mini storage, indoor mini storage. I think that was a Babies R Us at one time. This is in the parking lot toward the church building, looking to the southwest at the sign there, and the property in the shopping center on the other side of the street. And this is the other side of the street. We're on the south side of 40 Highway looking north. This section that you see of grass between the 40 Highway and the parking lot of the church is actually a different lot in the city of Kansas City. The sign itself, as you see there on the left, is at the very southwest corner of this lot. So I guess Best Buy years ago decided they needed the biggest sign, the tallest, to make sure that people could see them, because they didn't really have direct frontage onto 40 Highway. And this is looking to the west across the parking lot at the Planet Fitness and Hy-Vee. And that's the front of the sign again.
Okay.
I didn't have any illustrations in here of the proposed signage. You have that in your packets, though. And it did not receive any phone calls with this application. That's pretty typical for this type of thing. Generally, commercial businesses don't call when there's another commercial business wanting some sort of variance. And the applicant is here to answer questions.
Okay. Can we hear from the applicant? Please come to the podium and tell us your name and address.
My name is Steve Miller. I'm the Director of Operations for Church of the Four Corners and the City House. I actually reside in Blue Springs at just moved 616 Northeast Shenandoah in Blue Springs.
Okay. Can you tell us why you're wanting to do what it is you're wanting to do? Because I know your church has done a lot with that property. I mean, I remember what it was like prior to, when after Best Buy had left it, and I believe there was a Rick's Picks, and then there was a flea market or something there.
Yeah, that's correct. So
And you guys have vastly improved it. So can you explain to me why you wouldn't go just that extra step and go with like a nice monument sign as opposed to this?
yeah, so we initially kept the Best Buy price tag to stay in line with all the city codes, but in the last storm, you can see on that picture of the backside, it's covered in cloth, some kind of cloth material, and it all just ripped out. And we were working with Royal Signs to price out how much to repair that, and they said it's going to be costly because it's just so large. So we thought we'd look into seeing if we can modernize it with a more weatherproof design that'll last, look sleeker and cleaner. And we just like the idea of being more visible. Just like any building, you want to have advertising. You want people to know that we're there and to come check us out.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for?
Actually, I think when we sent the application in, our design has changed a little bit. We used the existing vertical structure that was taller than we really wanted. So I have a different mock-up if you guys would like to see it. That just lowers it a couple feet.
Is that it?
Yeah, very similar. We're just coming down a couple feet to make it square instead of more rectangular on that top part.
Okay. Can we see those?
Yeah.
Have you got enough for each of us, or we can share them, I guess, it doesn't matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Is that gonna have a display there where below the sign, Church of the Fork, is that where you can,
Yeah.
what do
so
you call
part of
them?
Part of the vision of our church is we named the building the City House. We want to open it as a community space. We thought it'd be silly to have a building that sits empty for 6 days a week. And so we have a coffee shop that's going to be opening up here in a couple months. And then in the future, we have an idea for allowing more other nonprofits come in. So right now in the evenings, we have groups like Corey's Network and Lullaby of Hope and some other nonprofits use our space. But if we can get something larger that would attract a bigger crowd than 10 or 15 people in a meeting room, we'd like them to be able to advertise in our space as well and let them know that, hey, if you want to be part of this group, you can come here and check us out.
Okay.
How far is this sign off of 40 Highway? It's quite a ways, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a ways. Like you said, there's that a whole additional lot in front of our parking lot. I don't know the exact measurement, but I would guess it's approximately 300 feet.
So it's a football.
Well, I figured it a little bit more closer to 250,
Okay.
but in that range, 250 to 300.
That's off the right of way?
Yeah, that's measured, I think I measured from the edge of the street to where the base of the sign is. If you can see this aerial here, you can see where the street is and then where the sign is. It doesn't look that far, but it's a good distance. And also the aerial photograph that they provided shows that, how much that is set back. It says 300, but it's a little less than that.
Okay, from the center of the highway.
Well, it doesn't look to me like essentially you've changed the height or the width. You just added something below the Church of the Four Corners and made the other thing look a little bit better.
Yeah, it's actually, other than the multi-tenant sign, the top part is going to be significantly smaller.
Right.
Have you guys considered doing a monument-style sign?
A little bit. I don't know exactly the height restrictions. I'm sure that.
Well, the height restrictions, yeah, I'm sure would probably have to go a little higher than the average height.
Yeah, it's
On a
8 feet,
monument.
8 foot maximum height,
Right.
so.
If you look just to the right of this picture on that driveway, there's a big gas station there that would block all of our view of that sign, and you can see to the west, there's that big hill. So any monument sign of 8 feet would be completely overshadowed unless you were directly in front of the building.
And their property, if you can see those medians with the bushes.
You need to come up the microphone and introduce yourself.
I'm Michael. I represent Royal Signs and Graphics. We've been working with them to get this figured out. But if you see right above that red minivan, those bushes there, that's actually where their property line is. So they don't own any of that property. So the place that the monument sign would have to sit is in an island in the middle of their parking lot. So that was the biggest downside to doing a monument sign.
So they can't set it up closer to the highway anyway
That's
because
owned
they
by-
don't own it.
Yeah, that's owned by somebody else. That 300 or 250 foot lot is owned by another property owner somewhere.
Okay.
I have no questions.
I don't have any. No other questions?
The reason I ask, I know the city has been trying to get away from these type of signs, and, the monument sign is what we're trying to go for as a standard as a community. So, although you do have somewhat of a unique situation, don't you?
Yeah, a monument sign would be almost fully obscured.
I just had one other question. So if I understand the code correctly, right now, they would be allowed to leave that exactly as is and just replace that torn face, isn't that correct?
That's right.
So,
Yes,
yeah,
as long as you keep the cabinet, am I correct?
that's what
That's right.
On that, you could do that without it, you wouldn't even have to be here right now.
No.
And they were just, I think their argument was, or not argument, their proposal was just to try to beautify it, make it just look a little bit nicer. 'Cause
Sure,
they could do
sure.
what's right there right now
And
with
that's,
the price tag.
exactly, and that's correct, you're correct on what you're saying. My thing is that and you do need some height with your sign because of where you're at, you've got that hill, which presents a challenge, I get that. And yes, the Hy-Vee gas station, I believe, is the one you're talking about,
So there's a.
the one to the west of you?
West, and there's a Shell station to the east. So there's the Shell station, then there's the Sonic that's burnt down and abandoned just to the east. So we're obscured on both sides. I think both the Shell and the Sonic sit in Kansas City though, so.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah, that's right. Basically, everything south of where their sign is, you can see in the photograph there, is in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. And your church actually has a Kansas City address, don't they? A mailing address.
It's complicated. Our title is.
Well, that's nothing out of the ordinary for Independence. We have Independence with Blue Springs addresses, Independence with Buckner addresses. So, that's not anything out of the ordinary, but to have a different mailing address than Independence.
The post office won't deliver to the same address that's on our title, so we've had to switch our mailing address to be 64136, which is Kansas City, even though our title says 64055. It was a big mess when we moved in and
Yeah.
good mail.
Oh, yeah.
How long have you all been there now?
We moved in, it was Mother's Day of 2017, I believe.
So it's been a little less than 3 years.
Yeah.
I just wondered. So I've driven by there on Sundays and that parking lot is full of cars, I can tell you
so
that.
We met in Truman High School for about 4.5 years, and then in Bingham Middle School for a year before we raised enough money to move in here. And we went from about 500 people on a Sunday to now we're at 1,200.
Oh my gosh.
Almost overnight, like when in the course of 2 months we moved into that building, we've exploded. It's been
Oh my gosh.
amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're doing something right then.
Have you considered taking steps to, like, enclose the bottom and maybe landscape around it a bit, like a larger monument sign? Something like that, kind of dress it up? Is that,
Are you thinking like putting bricks around the bottom, like kind of what Menards has?
well, I don't know that it would necessarily need to be brick, would it? We've had other people do this with these signs where we've allowed variances, but.
Yeah, that's right, as far as, but that wasn't really a variance on this case because, it's an existing, now if had they been building it new, that would have been an issue. They would have put landscaping around the bottom and so
Right.
forth. But this is basically, they're using the existing structure, so.
Okay, but I think we've had some where people have skirted them and had an existing pole sign and skirted them and
Yeah, I guess that may have been
made them
true.
look a
Yeah.
little more like a monument because they needed the height. And I can't remember, was Red Lobster was one of them on Nolan Road?
Red Lobster was not an existing pole sign. It was a oversized monument sign. You allowed it to be taller than what you would have allowed, but it was a new sign.
Okay.
I guess the only thing I can think of is maybe Family Dollar at Blue Ridge Cutoff and 40 Highway.
Maybe that was it.
We had them skirt an old pole, but
Maybe that was it. I know it's happened before where people have utilized existing pole signs and they've dolled them up and made them look like a monument style sign. Is that something, and is that anything you guys have considered?
I mean, we haven't considered that at all. I'm still not fully understanding how you're describing it.
I
He's wanting to do is, so instead of having to expose poles here, we would take whatever sheeting and stuff and basically close this in some way to basically make it to where you can't see through that. So it would look like a tall monument sign. Okay. I think that's what he's saying.
Right. Yeah, I think he's got the gist of what, you've been around it a while.
He's a sign professional.
Right, exactly.
From a personal standpoint, I don't see if that would make this any more desirable to have it enclosed than just the way it is.
Well,
About the wind thing, the wind is part of the problem.
I have no further questions. Any opposition?
Well, let's just, I don't have any other questions.
I don't have any other questions for you.
okay.
Can I make a motion, Tim, or is that?
Well, we've got a call for,
Okay.
okay. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of? Okay. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this variance request? I don't think anybody's out there, so, okay, we can close the public hearing and have a discussion on it.
Well, just for my 2 cents worth, looks like a nice sign to me. It's well designed. It's orderly. Looks good to me.
Well, and I think too, it's sitting back far enough that your eye is gonna be drawn always up and not, at the poles.
Well, plus also you're saying that being that far back, with a monument sign right there in front, I'm not sure it would be as good. I'm not saying it would be as good as what you have there now. That's just my what do you call it, opinion. Because you put a monument sign out there in front, until they just drive right by it, they're not gonna see it.
Well, as far as, it's the distance back from the highway. I don't know whether, I don't see how the monument sign would even be visible, would it? There's kind of it seems like it's kind of a crest or a hill, there's a little rise to the hill, and
Well, plus they can't put it in front there because they don't own the property.
Right.
That's part of the problem. I mean, they couldn't, even if they wanted to, they can't, because they don't own it.
I think they've got what they need.
Yeah. Motion?
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion on case number 20-999-02 that we grant the variance requests.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
You have a second. Let's take a vote. Okay, Gene Ogle,
I vote yes.
Robert Jones,
Yes.
John Davies,
Yes.
Dennis Hart,
Yes.
and I'm Tim Watkins, and unfortunately, I'm voting no, but you're still getting it anyway, so good luck to you.
Tell Craig hello for us.
Okay. All right. Everybody get an opportunity to review the minutes from our last meeting?
Seems correct to me, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody, did we miss anything, or, no?
Looks good to me.
Okay.
Since I wasn't there, I haven't got a clue.
That's right.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same no, nothing, there, okay. Meeting's adjourned.